Can you hear the crowd? Do the cheers send a chill down your spine and make your hair stand on end? There are 4 other makes of cars here, but the Tifosi are here to watch only one, Ferrari. Never has there been a fan base so fervently passionate as the Italian fans for their beloved marquee of a black prancing horse on a bright yellow shield. And with Monza being their home track, there is extra pressure on those drivers today. We'll see how they stand up to the expectations as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, it's the Temple of Speed on tap. Tell our viewers about one of the fastest circuits in road racing.
Joe, Soup, we sit here just north of Milan, Italy, at beautiful Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Just right here in the city of Monza, built in 1922. It was the world's third purpose-built racetrack after Brooklands in Surrey, in England, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, the track's proximity to the Ferrari headquarters in Maranello makes Monza the unchallenged home of the Italian Grand Prix, being held here every year except one. Over the years, the track has gone through several layout changes, including the 1954 construction of the high-banked oval. And iRacing offers 3 very different configurations of the track. Today, though, we're going to focus on this track, 3.6 miles, 11 turns. Trust me, folks, when I tell you it's going to be all about the chicanes. 3 of them to pay attention to today, 3 that will bring excitement in and out through this race and will be a factor to the very, very end, guys. Now, the best way to get an idea what it's like to really take a trip around Monza is to hop on board for the GSRC Lap Guide.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC Z4, so let's do a lap around Monza. Coming down to the Retifilia chicane, it's a huge braking zone, and with the draft, this means it'll be a great passing opportunity. But you really want to get it done before you're into the corner, because it's extremely tight, and too wide usually doesn't end well. Expect a huge traffic jam here on lap 1. From there, we enter the gentle Curva Grande, which will be flat out in these GT3 cars. Just minimize your steering input, and once again, if you're close, the draft will start to take effect. Once you're out of the corner, drift back to the right and line the car up to get ready for the Della Roggia chicane. If you overshoot it, it's going to be bad news because of the sleeping policeman speed bumps scattered all over the runoff. Likewise, if you exit a little too hot, there's a big old gravel trap ready to ruin your speed. Precision will pay off here. Then it's a short burst to the first Lesmo. There's a fair bit of camber here, but it's deceiving because it's a late apex corner and easy to come in too shallow. Then there's not much time before the second Lesmo. This one is a quick flick, but also a critical spot to nail the exit. It's followed by a long, flat-out stretch where the guy behind will be eager to outgun you. Just a slight bend to the left, a dip below the old oval, and we're getting ready for the Ascari chicane. This one is very different from the previous two in that it's quite a bit faster and has 3 apexes to worry about. Once again, there's large inside curbs that will punish you if you get too greedy. As you come off the end, make sure to use as much of the runoff as you can, since it's all considered inbounds and there's a fair ways until the Parabolica. This is another possible place to set up a pass. But in these modern cars, this isn't a terribly slow corner. You've got to make sure you own the apex so you don't get chopped off by your opponent. Besides, a more clever driver might be looking to focus on getting a good run out of the corner, since the front stretch is much longer and offers a more definitive place to overtake. Let the car drift off to the left on this super wide straightaway and wave to the Tifosi as you complete your lap around Monza. And that is a lap around the Grand Prix course of Monza. Now, as we are in the middle of qualifying, we've got a little bit of time, so why don't we go to Bill for the championship update. Bill, I'm going to take another stab at it this time. Wine, I'm guessing, is the metaphor today.
No, I'm just going to play it straight here, although
Okay.
it is fun to deal with when we come to Italy. It is tempting. Let's start with Sai Andra. You know, he's won his last 6, or he hasn't won in his last 6 races. Nevertheless, his lead continues to increase. The last 3 rounds has seen Daniel Gralti finish 3rd. So with so many drivers earning wins in this class, you wonder when it's going to be the SRN driver's turn. Robert Tinsley's 8th place finish 2 rounds ago at Phillip Island was just a hiccup in the Talon driver's climb to the top. Just a few rounds ago, John Ulmer was leading this class. Things have gone south lately. And if not for Alex Ellis having missed 5 out of 11 races, he'd be challenging for the crown. All the big names are here. All those drivers on there are here, including Mike Young, also, who has a win this season. It's going to be great in this class today. Let's go ahead and look at the GTLMs now. And with Jeffrey Holmes' big drop at only 17 points, the AOD Racing Star, he's vulnerable for a bad performance. Now, despite having back-to-back wins, the bad news for the man chasing the leader, and that, of course, is TMC Carbon Stephen McGarvey, is poor performances by Ooms are hard to come by. After missing last round, Billy Smith is looking to score big for Autobahn West. SRN Motorsports' Ryan Huff's top 5 streak now sits at 6th. And coming off a season-best 3rd at Snetterton, welcome to the overlay Leif Peterson for Autobahn East. Let's go to the GTDs. Renier Racing Team's Bradley Haley's big drop is now just 16. It was 32 last round. Now it's just 16. Dennis Cervetic has had the best of Haley lately. What once was a runaway is now a little more in doubt. And here's SRN again on the overlay, this time in the form of Scott McGarvey. But no shows the last 2 times out has burned any drop races for that driver. Autobahn East, Sheldon Rosenbaum took off last round as well. For Kevin Santana, Oye, como va? Or in English, hey, how's it going? Just fine after his 2nd, 3rd place in a row. Finally, to the team championship. And for SRN, Daniel Gralti is in second. Scott McGarvey is in third. And Ryan Huff is in fourth. That is how you win a team championship. For Autobahn Motorsports East, they move up 2 spots, mostly because of the trials and tribulations of the teams they are fighting with. So with only 36 points separating second from fifth, anything can happen behind the dominance of SRN. Okay, Joe.
Very fascinating to see SRN achieve what they have, especially so under the radar. Bill keeps harping on that, but it is so important to watch Paul Darling go through the last chance qualifying. One more graphic that we got for you, and that is the race details. So let's familiarize our viewers who may not have watched an Autobahn race. We are in season 6. We've been covering these guys for a while now. And this is round 12 of 15, long season out there. And they do have 2 drops because of that to help with that in case guys have other obligations to deal with. Now, the race distance today is the sprint format, which means 60 minutes. And it is an open setup on all the cars. But with the reduced fuel, that means you can expect at least 1 stop. Now, Monza is unique because some of the classes might actually need 2 stops. We'll have to watch and see. It can be tight at times with the faster cars. They do have an incident cap of 24 incidents. You get more than that, and they will DQ you. The sim will actually DQ you. You cannot contest that. You'll be removed from the track immediately. As Paul Darley now comes across the line, he's sitting in 5th currently in his class. And does he improve his time? Looks like he does not. Now, if we could take a look at the weather today as well, real quick, and see how we sit on that. 81-degree air temperature, a little bit warm out in the Italian countryside. But the real concern here, Sean, 108 on the track. It is steaming.
Yeah, that should make all 3 of these chicanes a lot of fun, Joe. Especially the final one, Ascari, which you seem to carry I don't know, that's the one you tend to drive the hardest, at least in my opinion. The opening segment of that chicane there, it sucks you in there. It makes you think, well, I can go a little faster through this one, and you usually wind up over driving that and then wind up having to either take a time penalty through there or wipe the car out. As we're seeing right here, you've got to watch out for those sausage curbs right there, because they will really, really knock the car out of whack. And yeah, the hot track today is going to be a factor, Joe. And finding grip down at a Parabolica, getting off that exit there, as we're heading down there now, that's going to be an issue too. You'll be on the edge trying to hang onto the car all day long with 108-degree track out there.
On board with Bradley Haley, who also tries to get his first time lap in, and it puts him in 5th in class, which is important. Wow. Remember, this is our contender championship leader in GTD, and right now his main rival is on the pole.
There's a fly in the ointment there. We have Jason Deep Freeze coming back to race with us. He sits between Haley and Savretic, as well as does Dale Green and Scott McGarvey.
In fact, DeVries and Savretic right now, only 5 1,000ths separate them on the timing sheets here in qualifying. We expect another close one between those two like they had at Snetterton. David Sockrider, our lone HPD, out there trying to get his lap in. And right now, I believe he sits 10th, it looks like. Yes, indeed. In the field of 11 prototypes. Nice, healthy field that we're seeing out there today. 38 cars.
Wow. Are
going to be on the grid.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger grids we've had this season. Nice distribution of vehicles as well. 11 HPDs, 14 GT3s, and 13 of the GTDs.
Nice spread between them, pretty evenly spread. Sockrider completing another lap. Now, Haley coming around. Let's see if he can improve that. He really needs to. The draft can sometimes come into play at a track like this and allow sort of draft pack battles to erupt, but you can't bank on that. So, as Haley sits in 4th in class, what's he going to do as he comes to the line, sitting on a 1:47.0.
Whoa!
Well, no worries for the Comet.
Holy smokes. Knew the camera was on him.
1:46.5 compared to Savretic's 1:46.7, 2/10 around a place like Monza, Sean. I mean, there's not many corners around here to find that time.
Maybe he did it in Parabolica, the very same corner I was talking about that would be struggle to find power out of. He obviously found power somewhere, and boy, what a lap there for Brad.
Horrible news for Mark Kudrowski in the GTLM class, because Haley's actually faster. I believe the rules now call for Kudrowski to start from the pits, so a tough break for Mark.
Kudrowski is not the only one. Dale Green as well, we expect to start from the pits, as he got a lap time slower than both Reddick and De Vries. This is Paul Darling that we're watching, running one of the aforementioned Ferraris. Certainly a lot more of them in the GTE class than there are in the GTD. They have been balanced out to be more competitive in recent times in that GTD class. However, drivers were not able to switch around a whole lot this season. They did give a free pass to a few drivers that started with that car to return to the Ferrari if they so desired, just to be a little bit sympathetic to those drivers. Otherwise, drivers do need to stick to the car that they started driving with at the beginning of the season or suffer a points penalty here at this point. Haley's coming around to give it another go, seeing if he can improve it one more time. Doesn't really need to at this point, but you might as well add insult to injury, I suppose. But as he crosses the line, he does not improve this time. So Haley stays put. Now, Bill, I mentioned that the prototypes might have a big question mark over their fuel strategy. Have you heard anything from the drivers? Has anybody said anything to you about what they expect, or are they pretty tight-lipped?
They are really tight-lipped. I think, from what I'm hearing, I think it's a two-stop unless you save big time. We'll know. We'll watch to see when they come in. If they finish their pit stops with less than 30 minutes of racing to go, we know we can get there. But I think they're going to save.
Well, could we see maybe potentially split strategy? Some drivers just go for it, go all out and go fast. And could we see some drivers maybe do what Bill says and hold back in hopes that it is slightly faster? GTEs, actually, I'm curious if it's the same way. It used to be that the middle class were the GT1s, and those were very thirsty. I'm not sure exactly where the GTE cars sit.
My gut tells me that that it's only the prototypes that are really an issue. I think it is close for the GTLM guys, but they should be okay, I think.
You know what they say, guys, the middle class is withering away every day.
Okay.
Well, if the way that Jeffrey Ooms has been dominating, you do have to worry about that, as maybe drivers will elect to go somewhere where they can actually have hope for a win. And Christopher Sherburne, right now, running in 11th, is not one of the ones that has to worry about that, as he is in a GTD Ferrari. Do watch out. Those two cars do look pretty much the same, the two Ferraris. One is in GTD and one it is in GTE. Have very different pace between the cars. They find their speed in different places. As we ride on the rear wing of Sherburne, running for P1 SimRacing.
Sean, what is the make that Giuliano Rubignolo is racing? What's he driving? Do you know?
Romagnolo, he is driving the Audi.
It's good to see the Audi here.
The lone Audi. And he showed last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, that those are very fast cars.
Not to be trifled with.
Yeah, exactly. Just waiting for the clock to run out on our last cars trying to get their hot laps in. They are allowed to complete this lap here in qualifying, even though the checkers have come out. Then we'll go through your starting grid here in round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Paul Darling coming to the line, and he will be the last one, and that'll allow us to go through the order. He is in the jolt, and he's not going to take the time. So that's going to be it for our qualifying. On the pole is going to be John Ulmer. Bit of a surprise there. The American tends to not do well on the European tracks, but lately he has improved his pace. Problem is he hasn't improved his race finish results as well recently, and that's what put him down in the points. Alex Ellis will start on the front row next to him. Ellis has gotten his maiden win this season, and we expect him to be challenging throughout the rest of it, as he's been very fast. Cy Andra will be in third. Championship leader has some work to do, but one of his main rivals is right behind him. Robert Tinsey found his legs at Snetterton, took a win. He's gotten 3 out of the last 4 races at the top of the podium. Mike Young will be next to him in 5th, and then Daniel Gralty in 6th. Row 4 will be Lionel Duprat in 7th, and Mark Wilson in 8th. Elliot Mimi starts behind them in 9th. David Stockrider in the last chance qualifying starts 10th, and Chris Pence rounds out our prototypes in 11th. Bill?
In his Ferrari, it is Jeffrey Ooms leading the GTLM boys. A pair of Fords behind him, Jason Girard, who's just racing for pride, not in the points chase, and Stephen McGarvey, who is very much in the points chase. Then it's 3 Ferraris of Paul Darling, Billy Smith, and hey, David Williams here as well. So when you have Girard and Williams, a couple guys coming into race, good to see them back with us. Then it's Ryan Huff, Dave Hill, Patrick Fleming, another Ferrari for Leif Peterson, and then Dino Topic in the 22nd overall position.
All right, and then we're going to go to Bradley Haley. He is your pole sitter here in the GT class. Mark Kidrowski will start there from the pits. We said Dennis Savretek will start second. Then you've got Jason DeVries starting third, Scott McGarvey fourth, Giuliano Romagnolo fifth, Kevin Santana sixth, Paul Lindsay will start seventh today, Ross Booth starting eighth, Sheldon Rosenbaum ninth, Kevin O'Keefe in 10th, Christopher Sherburne starting 11th, Matt Owens 12th, Tim McLeish 13th, 14th, going to go to Robert Sklenka. And then we had a couple cars starting from the pit, if I remember correctly, right, Sue?
Yeah, I think you went through those. We have the car of, who would it be there? We got
Kidrowski and Dale Green.
Yeah, there we
Okay.
go. They'll be starting back there. We got those.
Well, my usual question, you know what I'm about to ask, Bill. Who's your horse?
My heart wants to say Daniel Gralty, but he's too far back with Young, Tinsey, Ander, Ellis, and Ulmer in front of him. It's just too hard to go. I think this being Italy, the cheese is going to slide off the pizza for Ulmer. That puts me down to Alex Ellis. Magic Alex, I like to win up there in the prototypes. Going down to the other group, I hate to pick chalk, but I just don't see that Girard or McGarvey has anything for Jeffrey Ooms today. Let's go with the pole sitter, Jeffrey Ooms. Sean, yours a little more interesting, though.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, trying to figure out which pony I should go with here.
Right.
I think I'm going to go with Savretic today, just to keep this championship interesting. Give me Dennis.
All right. He certainly made it interesting last round, although he didn't have it all his own way with DeVries coming in. Took the win away when he could have grabbed max points at Snetterton with his rival Bradley Haley not showing up. Today, he absolutely has to finish ahead of Haley to keep in this thing. It's not the end of the line if he doesn't, but it'll certainly make it harder with the rounds becoming fewer and fewer as we watch the roof pace car lead them down towards the Parabolica. Then they will release this prototype field, the first ones to take the green in this split start. 3 classes out there today, as you can tell. Then we go racing for 60 minutes in the 12th round of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge.
If I'm guys down there like Lino Duprat and Mark Wilson in the prototypes, I say nurse it, baby. Let's one-stop this thing. Let the big boys race it out and make 2 stops.
All right, coming around to the pit entry. Drivers getting very close to each other there on that front row, leaving inches between them. As the pace car peels in, John Ulmer accelerates immediately and slots into the first spot with ease. Mostly getting single file behind them. This first chicane is always the trouble point. Let's see if anybody has any problems. A little bit of a challenge there from second place by Ellis. Oh, can he actually get it done, though, around the outside? He gets better grip, and he's going to take the lead away, but we have to go to the GTLMs.
Ooms blows away the field. Girard, McGarvey tucks into second, Darling in third, a battle for fifth between Smith and Huff. They'll get that sorted out. Sean?
Bradley Haley is away like a rocket as the green flag flies, and Dennis Savretic slots into second, but very, very close on his wing there. Jason DeVries. Good start here. Everybody screaming down the long straight here into the first chicane. de Vries already being challenged on the outside by Scott McGarvey.
I think Ross Booth got into the back of someone a little bit. That's going to hurt his aerodynamics for sure, as he gave a big thunk with that Merc onto someone, but I'm not quite sure which driver it was. But up at the front, the big news is Bill's pick goes immediately to P1. Alex Ellis has already stretched a gap of about 5/10 over John Ulmer. And then those guys as well are pulling away from third place. Cy Andra, who's got a challenge from Tinsey down the inside into Parabolica. The yellow and black HPD gets himself onto the podium quickly. He knows he's got to get ahead of Andra to try and take this championship away. Andra stays in his tire tracks, using the draft down the front stretch. This is the closer battle compared to the battle for P1, as they stay in line, and they're going to stay in line as well for third place as Tinsey manages to fend off the New England driver. Jumping down to GTLM, Ooms already having himself a 2-second gap over Stephen McGarvey, who's worried about this battle for second, because here comes the inside. David Williams in the Ferrari sneaks through. Textbook pass down into Rettifilio.
Yeah, the big news here was on lap number 1, Jason Girard was racing in second place. He either got a slowdown penalty or missed a shift. He lost a ton of positions. He falls in behind Billy Smith. Smith also lost a spot to Paul Darling and to, Huff there, but I guess Huff has fallen back a bit.
Sweet. Kevin O'Keefe making a move on Matt Owens back here down into the chicane.
This is in the GTD class that we're watching them come out of that first chicane. O'Keefe doing a great job recently on air here with GSRC. Oh, and actually, unfortunately, loses a couple spots coming through the Curva Grande, though. In fact, going backwards very quickly. Did he have a cut course there, Sean? As we see a pass in front of him.
I think he might have. Man, it's a shame he made that pass and then all of a sudden starts dropping like a rock there.
So, not the start that O'Keefe. Welcome back to Monza. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Hopefully we've got those sorted out now. We'll take you to the finish, the checkered flag, as we watch Robert Tinsey, who has now got himself up into second in the prototype class, past John Ulmer. In fact, Ulmer has been also passed by Cy Andra and has slipped to fourth, unfortunately. Ooms is still our leader in GTLM, and Bradley Haley, our leader in the GTDs. But a lot of action happening out on track. Bill, I know you've been watching Darling and Williams down in those GTLM cars.
Yeah, originally it was Williams pestering Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey has left him behind. Then Darling was able to get around Williams. There's been some great fighting going on there. So now Williams is fourth in class, but then here comes Billy Smith behind him too. The fighting has been going on for P3, 4, 5, and 6 in this class. Also included in there coming up, Ryan Huff. Great fighting going on here. All that going on behind Jeffrey Ohms, who's long gone.
A 5-second lead right now between Ooms and McGarvey. Really does not look like he is going to be phased this race. And Sean, I know you were watching some action down in the GTDs as well.
Yeah, you know what? The battle for 10th place is actually a pretty good one right now. Christopher Sherburne being hunted by Romagnolo. Those two have been mixing it up here just a bit. A half a second separates the two, and Romagnolo making a dive down to the inside in his Audi.
And someone off course, sorry, that's Mark Kudrowski, who spins off at the Della Rosa chicane. You can see trying to get that Ferrari turned around in time.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Ford GT rather.
just right in front of that action that we were talking about there.
Remember, Kudrowski had to start from pit lane because he got out-qualified by Haley, and so he was working his way through the GTD field.
Boy, he's having to wait forever to get turned around down there also.
Yeah, only just now.
Yep.
That gray machine finally back on track. But GTLM podium once again getting very hot as David Williams gets past Paul Darling into Rettifilio.
Got that spot back, so now Darling will want it. Right back there is Billy Smith. They have been fighting it out. Once Williams got off the tail of McGarvey, McGarvey's opened up to 1.3 seconds ahead, so I think he's pretty safe for now. Look at the run, though, that Darling has. Watch out for Darling. He's much better the second part of the race. Does a lot of the first part, a lot of learning the track. He doesn't have much time to practice anymore.
GTD, boys. Sheldon Rosenbaum making a move on Booth. Doing another front straightaway. Trying to get it done down here in Rettifilio.
Goofs that second apex big time, and that opens the door for Booth to take it back. Beautiful stuff by Ross Booth to try and keep his competitor from snatching away that 7th position. They come around Curva Grande down to Della Rogia, and Rosenbaum thinks about it but backs out of it by the time they hit the brakes.
Let's go up front, P1. This is Tinsey making a move on Ellis right now. They are side by side.
And this is right behind the battle that we were just watching. The traffic is going to come into play. They go 3 wide before they get to the second Lesmo. And still, Ellis is trying to hold onto it. He might get boxed in, though, as he's got Ross Booth up in front of him. Tinsey gives him just enough space. He's got the inside into Ascari. Tinsey not giving up. Breaks a little bit early. Lets Ellis through. Maybe going for the over-under out of the corner. And he gets a fantastic run. Here we go again, Bill.
Look at the defensive line that Ellis is taking. How about a tip of the hat to Tinsey earlier on when he left room for Ellis and he gets the pass made? Honestly, he deserves that one for the great driving that Tinsey saw. He saw that Ellis was in trouble. They're not done yet, though. They got traffic ahead of them. Nowhere for Tinsey to go. Bob the Blade. There's always room for Bob the Blade.
And Ellis follows him through. Woo! Great stuff. In fact, all 3 of our podium go split the uprights and go through the middle of Lindsay and Santana, who are still battling behind them. By the way, this is 4th position in the GTD. Santana's going to have the inside of the first part of the chicane, and he's going to be able to finally execute the pass coming out of Rettifilio.
Hashtag too soon? Jeez.
I can't get over the move.
48 minutes left, guys.
Cannot get over the move that Tinsey did. He had Ellis boxed in. He could have held his position. He was very polite. The kind of guy you want to meet on the freeway. He moved over, let Ellis have room to get around.
But look at the teammates behind him that are really starting to put the pressure on. This traffic could still yet change the complexion of this battle for P1. This makes me wonder, though, Bill, is Tinsey, the way that he charged through the field to come up to the front, is he running a different strategy than what we're seeing from Ellis and Andra?
Yeah, this could all be for naught. I mean, we could all be talking about Duprat in a minute, depending on how many stops these guys have to make.
Well, they're about to get to our leaders here in the GTD class. We haven't talked about them a whole lot, but Dennis Savretek is doing a heck of a job here, hanging with Bradley Haley. It's still only 3/4 of a second that separates those two, and here come our HPD leaders now into Parabolica. Right
now, Haley with the high ground, both in the points and on track, leading his main competitor, his main rival. Oh, and who is locking it up? Patrick Fleming heading into the pits there. This is way too early for a stop.
Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dino Topic had a problem out there as well, and he is in the pit.
Topic, notoriously not fond of Monza, thought that he wasn't going to run here, but I guess he changed his mind and came out anyways.
Peer pressure.
I see Mark Wilson heading in. He must have had issues too. Was that involved with Topic? Or is this maybe Wilson using that 2-stop strategy? Oh, no, he had a little bit of contact with Kevin O'Keefe. It was very, very light contact, though. So not sure if it's
You know what?
worth going back to.
It was. He nipped Topich when Topich got around and was trying to pull back on track. And that was what happened to Fleming. He had damage on the front of that Ford.
Going back to the GTLMs, this battle that just won't quit. David Williams leading Paul Darling, leading Billy Smith and the Ferraris. Each of them taking a wildly different line coming out of the Parabolica. Williams ducking out on the inside, now back to the racing line as his TNT teammate Darling slips into his tire tracks, but he's not going to have enough slipstream to catch him before the braking zone as they all load up for Rettifilio.
They're about a straightaway apart before Tinsey and Ellis and those guys get up there. That's going to be interesting when those three guys and the prototypes are battling together. They run up on the back of Williams and Darling and Smith because these guys have been fighting it out as well.
Coming through Curva Grande now, and still they're going to have to stay in order. Nobody really finding an advantage, but wow, Billy Smith strong on the brakes into that second chicane. Right on board with Williams, looking back at the two competitors. Something must be set up different in Billy's car because he closed in the first Lesmo as well. Maybe different brake bias on that Ferrari because they're all three in the same car.
You know, Sean, when we were at break, we didn't mention it. One of my guys that I've been keeping an eye on in your class, Romagnolo, he was doing good, but he picked up a slowdown penalty that cost him lots of spots, right?
Yeah, and he's been struggling ever since, Soup. The Audi just does not seem to have the legs needed here to catch up. That slowdown penalty really crippled him. He's still a full, 3.5 seconds behind Sheldon Rosenbaum right now, who's in a heck of a fight with Ross Booth.
In fact, we've got that on screen as they come through the Lesmos. And Rosenbaum had a go at Della Rosia, but couldn't get it done. Now he's dropped back, as unfortunately it looks like he couldn't ride in the wake well. We've got Chris Pence riding up behind them very quickly. That could affect this battle depending on how aggressive Pence comes through Ascari. This is one of those tracks that it used to surprise me in multi-class, Sean, but it doesn't anymore. So many long straights, you'd think it'd be much easier in multi-class, but every time we come here with those races, it just seems to wreak all kinds of chaos.
I know, right? Exactly. You think, a couple of really, really good long straightaways will be fine. They can sort themselves out. Why do they always catch each other in the chicanes? No idea, Joe. I don't know why things happen that way, but there are three of them here to be concerned about here today, and that could be the problem in itself. Just too many chicanes.
Prototypes has a close fight on the podium. Alex Ellis trying to hold back his teammate Cy Andra as they go through the first Lesmo. That's Jason Gerard in the GTLM. Actually well down the order in that class, unfortunately.
Yeah, Gerard was just in a battle with Peterson, but Peterson kind of backed out a little bit, let these prototypes go through. Here comes Ulmer now going around Gerard.
Ulmer, unfortunately, has let the cheese slip off a little early this time. Unless he's thinking fuel.
Yeah.
Which I believe, wasn't it at Road America that he did that? That he considered fuel, or was it Cy Andra that I was thinking?
I think it was Cy Andra that kind of snuck one in. That's not the case now. Cy Andra's on the throttle. Ulmer started on pole. If you were just looking, just based on the numbers, just on paper, you'd think something's fishy from Ulmer here.
And we're watching the replay of Mike Young, unfortunately in Ascari, getting it all kinds of wrong. He's able to get it going once again, though.
Mike Young, the sixth big name of all the guys up there, which includes Gralty. He already has a win this season. He's now fallen behind Elliot Mimi. Mimi moves up into sixth. Haven't heard much from Elliot.
Mimi has been one who consistently downplays himself, and his qualifying is definitely not there. He's usually in the back on his one-lap pace, but in a couple races now, it seems like every time he just slowly works his way forward, mostly just by being a clean driver.
For a guy whose last name is Mimi, he is surprisingly humble.
We do appreciate his many great contributions to the internet, though, Joe. Gonna leave that there.
I'm sure he's tired of those jokes, though. But running 6, great job from him so far today, having qualified in 9th, already gaining positions.
Boy, the battle up front here in the GTD is really, really heating up. It seems like Savretic is finally comfortable with his pace, and he's not worried about any traffic coming through. He's really starting to turn up the wick here on Brad.
This seems to be his MO. We've watched this happen with Savretic before. He'll let Bradley lead, he'll put the pressure on, and then towards the end of the race, he starts to get aggressive. I feel like this is just the strategy that Savretic likes.
I think there's probably a little bit to be said for that. After a whole season of watching this, I guess we are starting to figure him out just a bit. This is going to be a good one. I'll tell you what, the pit stops are going to be critical today, Joe, obviously, when we're just planning on a one-stop strategy here. Oh, yeah, I know exactly. Was that a little bit of loss of time there for Savretic?
Yeah, his exit of Ascar left a little bit to be desired as he went way wide and through the grass. Now, fortunately for him, there's not a cut course on that part of the track, but that is an incident point. And the drivers at a track that is filled with chicane, we know, Bill, incident points can rack up quickly.
Yeah, and this is the kind of one where those incident points can sneak up on you because it really does. It's not like it's costing you a lot of time. You're just running off and pick up another one. Before you know it, you're right up there. Hey, let me point out that those prototype guys made it through. The last one, we can look at Ulmer here. He's finally got through. I'm talking about Williams and Darling. Remember those 3 guys? Here comes Gralty getting through as well. Smith involved in the GTLMs.
Williams and Darling certainly haven't been able to separate, although they have dropped Billy Smith by about 1.5 seconds. So not a significant amount, but at least enough that it's down to the 2 TNT drivers to quarrel amongst themselves. Well, and as I say that, a big mistake from Darling is going to put him at a greater distance from Williams as Gralty now slides through.
Yeah, we maybe got a little action here in the GTD class. The 6th place is certainly look like it's under threat. Well, Ross Booth actually tangling with Rosenbaum again. Rosenbaum all over the rear bumper there. Booth trying not to make a mistake there. The car got a little bit tail happy there out of the turn. Gets through the second Lesmo clean that time. Doesn't
ride? Go ahead.
Didn't Rosenbaum take a shot at Booth earlier and then had to fall back? I guess he's gathering back up again.
He's trying to find a nerve to get it done again.
If Santana's not careful, he's going to get caught up in a 3-way battle. They've been steadily reeling him in. And as this has happened, apparently we missed the pass of Darling on Williams. He gets into the podium and the GTLMs. All right, let's take a look at the replay to see where this happened. I'm going to assume it's down into Retifilio.
It's Williams makes a mistake, misses the chicane in Retifilio, and Darling just says thank you very much. Watch, it's the lead. I'm going to say citrus-colored car there. The 2 teammates coming at you. Williams out in front. He overshoots his braking point. You can see him lock it up.
Ooh, did a good job not clattering over the curbs, although his teammate takes it out in the gravel to get the job done. So your order now reversed. Darling 3rd, Williams 4th. As they've got yet more prototypes constantly weaving in and out of them.
Mimi and Young going through.
So they're going to leave those 2 alone as they return to where the pass happened last time. And look at Williams get right underneath that rear wing. Could he have an opportunity? These Ferraris are incredibly streamlined, so I'm not sure that the draft is going to be enough, but he's starting to reel him in as the pace picks up, looks to the inside. Is that a lift, though? Or was that just how much the draft helped him?
Yeah, I don't think Darling surrendered it. I think he maybe was resigned to give it up, but I don't think it was voluntary.
Wow, that really gained a huge head of steam at the end of that straight. It just built and built, and then suddenly, boom. Up in the prototypes.
Trouble for Rosenbaum. Ooh. Rosenbaum had trouble getting out of Ascari and almost gets run over by Ross Booth. Oof. Rosenbaum's just going to miss it here, guys.
Well, isn't that...
Actually, no, that was Ross Booth.
Yeah, you had it backwards there.
Ross Booth. You can see as we watch on board from Rosenbaum that blue GT3 is the car we want to watch. Whoa!
Looked like maybe that sausage curb helped him a little bit there. Ooh, he did hit him, actually.
Yeah, we saw the nose of that car crinkle up, and is that going to hurt his top end?
The poor Sheldon tries he might to get around Booth. Even when Booth makes a mistake, he can't get around him.
Probably could have dove to the side, but it was a difficult moment to judge from what we saw on that onboard. So I don't blame him really for getting on the binders and not risking jumping out in front of a faster class in case they were trying to come through.
We got 35 minutes of racing to go. We are getting real close to knowing if the prototypes can do this in one stop.
This race has gone by surprisingly fast. We're almost at the halfway point. Now, these GT3 cars, the GTD class, is the one that we expect to easily make it through, and they tend to go long, so expect most of them to wait for quite a while before they come in for their stops. Up at the front, as we take a look at our GTLM leader, Jeffrey Ooms, it's now up to 6.3 seconds over Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey, though, isn't too worried. He's got a whole 4 seconds over Paul Darling behind him.
Soup, the mantra going to have some real time to meditate up there, huh?
You would think, but they're coming from all directions on him. Yeah, the prototypes are going through. What he didn't need to see is such a large field. How about 38 drivers here, 12 rounds into this season? Is this series healthy or what? Yeah, but Ooms has the prototypes coming up behind him, then he's got to negotiate around the GTDs. He's not out of the woods.
On board with Billy Smith right now, who's fighting for fourth with David Williams. Williams lost touch with Darling. You can see the gap between himself and his teammate up ahead as they weave through Ascari. Both of them nice and clean out of there. That exit certainly seems to have been the bane of a number of drivers today.
Darling had surrendered that spot we saw to Williams, and then just this lap, Darling got it back when Williams was up in traffic. So it's going back and forth. But now Darling's running away, and Williams is back in the clutches of Smith.
Did see Mark Kudrowski in the pits, guys. Just got to his box.
Yeah, now that's a prototype, although he'd been in the wall. But
no. Kudrowski.
That's not a prototype. Well, I guess he was in the wall, so it totally changed the shape of the car.
So we come up to second place. Ellis and Andra are still running in formation. Haven't seen a pass yet between the two teammates, which surprises me since Ellis is not in the hunt for the championship, but Andra is. Would think that he would try to help him out and let him through, but maybe there's no team orders out there.
He might be doing the work, letting Andra stay in his draft, save a little fuel.
This is true, which could be a huge help in the overall scheme as they go through Parabolica one more time.
Ooh, Mark Wilson has big trouble, Joe, in Redifilio, right in front of our leader, Bradley Haley and Dennis Safretek in the GTD class.
We're going to see if we can pull that replay up. He really clattered it over the sleeping policeman. Here we go. And just weaves his way through. Whew. Causing a bit of a scare for our GTD leaders, but they continue on without incident. We're going to watch it one more time from onboard Wilson. Looks to the inside. He's offline, so there's not as much grip there, Sean.
And if you're Brad Haley, I mean, are you really paying attention to that? Do you see that out of the corner of your eye? Oof.
Depends on if he's got three monitors or not.
Yeah.
Well, glad to see no one suffered any serious issues, although I'm sure Mark Wilson's under tray is not happy at the moment.
Yeah, he's still trying to get it back together here, Joe.
Well, we've talked about Ulmer and his pace and wondering what's going on. Well, Daniel Gralti has caught him now. This is, as as Ulmer really gets aggressive on those curbs coming through Ascari. We know that Ulmer has the pace, Bill. He got the pole. He can be fast. This really smells of trying to one-stop to me.
Now here comes Tinsley with 30 minutes and 24 to go. By the time he's done with this stop, it'll be the halfway mark. My gut tells me these guys were saving. All the leaders in. Tinsley, Ellis, Andra. Ulmer comes in as well. So if he was saving, he doesn't need to now.
Young in, Mimi in. Let's see, Sock Rider. Yeah, Sock Rider comes in to Pratt. Every single prototype that is on the lead lap is coming in on this lap. The miss their stall. Look at the line of them all together. Tinsley out first. Ellis out second. Andra out third in the order they were.
It's like they all mutually agreed to do that on a certain lap there, Joe.
And if fuel is as tight as it might be, this might come down to a case of not being too fast where you have to run an extra lap.
So we watch them get in the middle of this battle between GTLM Ferraris. Williams and Darling going at it again. Are we going to go 3 wide with third place in the prototypes trying to take to the grass? Andra survives it. And Darling and Williams are left to themselves. Williams looking to the inside, down to the De La Rogia. That absolutely was a lift from Darling.
Those two guys have been putting on a show.
Ooh, way over that inside curve for Williams, and somehow he keeps the car on track. Just about launched it.
Was that an incident point?
Might have been. I'm not entirely sure.
Pretty close, yeah.
He didn't get a slowdown, which is good for him at least. But Sean, I don't know that was a mutual agreement between drivers so much as a mutual agreement between their fuel cells.
Yeah, well, something's up because, I mean, like you said, the whole field came in at the same time. So somebody
who
had
is
a plan.
That off? That Syandra with a big moment in Ascari, and he definitely gets into the barrier as well as the back of Robert Sklenka.
And it was Sklenka that had the trouble, and I think it was Andra having to react to it to cause the trouble.
Sean, you nailed it. Sklenka came across the curbs. The car got loose and came right in front of where Andra thought he had a clear path.
Sklenka opened wide and gobbled up a bunch of sausage curves, much to his car's dismay and Andra's frustration. Sklenka, interestingly, too, I believe, was able to continue on. Andra is back going, but this hands a podium to Daniel Gralti. Could this be the third podium in a row for Daniel? Actually, more than that, I believe. I'd have to check my stats.
Look at that. Gralti wasn't really up there. Gralti, after the pit stops, he's ahead of Ulmer, ahead of Andra now with that mistake.
Indeed, you were talking about when is the time for Gralti going to come. This is looking a lot like what we saw with some of our slower drivers before, that they were close and thereabouts, but the pace of guys like Ulmer and Tinsley made it so hard you needed everybody to have a bad day to try and take it home.
Well, Alex Ellis and Mike Young coming into the series isn't helping that.
And Servetic comes into pit. Yeah, 6 podiums, I think, so far this season, if I'm counting right, for Daniel Gralti.
Yeah, he's Mr. Consistency.
That's how he's gotten second into the points.
Well, that's what his team does, too. I mean, SRN, that's how they just get point. That's why that team's doing so great.
Oh, as he goes way wide on the exit of Parabolka. That, I'm pretty sure, very much was a incident point. Ooms is in, Stephen McGarvey is in, David Williams is in. Well, we're seeing what we saw with the prototypes, I believe, here, except in the GTLMs. As we try to get Dougie's cameras sorted out. There we go.
I did like that track cam we had, though, on pit lane. That was kind of cool. Director getting very artsy.
Was that Williams that missed? One of our GTLMs. Yes, it was Williams who overshot his stall. Jeffrey Ooms in and out then. Andra. Andra comes in. He must have had to take his free damage. Repair.
Yeah. That must have been too much to recover from that off he had there.
Well, here's the crazy thing in all that. We must have missed an incident for John Ulmer because he's down in 5th and Elliot Mimi is up to 4th now. Let's see if we can figure out what happened to John. Bill, I don't know if you've happened to catch this.
I'll take a look. I'll see if I can find it.
All right. Well, Bill is looking for John's incident. Yeah, I'll have 25 minutes left to go. We're waiting for the GTD class to come in for their stops, and then we can run down your order. In fact, I think those have been kicked off because Bradley Haley has taken his stop. So is DeVries, McGarvey, Romagnolo, Paul Lindsay. Boy, everybody is just on the same page today. Look at this. It's a pit party. Is Savretic the only one that stayed out? No, he's already pitted. So this is actually critical. Where's Bradley Haley? He's coming out now. Savretic down the line. Starts to head up the order. But I don't think he's going to be there soon enough as Haley's now up to speed and to the chicane. And actually, DeVries has jumped him.
Yeah, DeVries gets up to 2nd. DeVries, who had been closing before the pit stops there, Joe. Now, is he in the way or is he really leading? We'll see. Savretic's going to have to pass him to get back to Haley, but Haley, with a great pit stop, is able to pull this off, Joe.
Boy, if DeVries is able to finish ahead of Savretic for a second time in a row, I have a feeling that Dennis is not going to be sending him any Christmas cards.
Especially if he's in between him and Haley. Hey, just to follow up on the Ulmer situation. Yeah, the cheats can slide off the pizza numerous ways. How about a speeding penalty?
Oh. Well, you have to be perfect in this series. You just cannot make mistakes to try and come away with a championship. Ulmer been struggling a lot this time through, although he's had a few very bright moments. We have to give him credit for that. But as we jump up to the GTLM class, look at Paul Darling now getting on the back of Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey must have had an error somewhere. It's up to 12 seconds that he's behind Jeffrey Ooms. Seeing a very long pit stop.
Yeah, McGarvey was in his box for about 21 seconds compared to 18 for Darling. So no penalty, but yeah, it cost him some time. I think McGarvey should have the pace to get away here, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, right now it looks like the Darling's able to ride his coattails, use that draft to stay with him, keep the pressure on. And as you mentioned earlier, Darling tends to pick up the pace at the end of the race, too.
That's true. And it was really hard to tell how fast Darling was because he was dancing with Williams the whole race. So now he's out there. He can do stuff on his own that Williams is out of the picture.
If he starts battling with McGarvey, Smith and Williams are 2 seconds behind and 1 second behind, respectively. So they could get back into the fight. But at that point, it'll be not just for the bottom step of the podium, but for the second highest step. Best of the rest behind Jeffrey Ooms, which has been a common story this season. If you're watching for the first time, you're on the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. I believe that's all of our GTDs done, is that not? So I think we have the chance to go through the field. Let's get our top 5 in the prototypes. Robert Tinsey, we think he's able to make it to the end despite his fast pace. Right now he's leading at not much of a gap over Alex Ellis, so these two really putting on a good show at the moment. Traffic could come into play. Ellis in second, and Daniel Gralti with a nice third. However, he's a whole 13 seconds back from Ellis at the moment, so that podium looks like the best he's going to do unless something major happens to the cars ahead. Elliot Mimi, driver of the race for me, honestly, sitting in 4th, having started in 9th. A fantastic run. And then John Ulmer struggling today, not just with pace, but with putting down the mistakes, having gotten a speeding penalty, it slots him into 5th. Bill?
Okay, it is what we talked about. Jeffrey Ooms almost 14 seconds up on Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey's got his work cut out for him, though, because it's only about a second between him and Paul Darling in 3rd. Although McGarvey... Williams was trying to get through some traffic, was trying to catch up to Billy Smith. He got collected by Tim McLeish. Williams was in a hurry. He had 4 cars to get through. And poor Tim McLeish, he kept the car straight. I think.
Straight into him.
Yeah.
Let's watch on board McLeish to see what his perspective looks like.
Maybe came over a little bit, but...
It's by centimeters if he did. Yeah. That Mean Beaver Racing Mercedes looked like it was pretty close to the edge of the track. I have to say that, I mean, if you're David Williams, you have to take as wide a line as possible. But when it comes to racing over the internet, net code and getting that close, you always run a risk.
Well, that's good news for Billy Smith because he was racing in 4th as we continue our rundown. He was in 4th in the GT-LM class. So without Williams out of the way, that lets us talk to another old-time veteran back with us, Jason Girard, racing 5th in class now. John, how about the GTDs?
It's exciting, Bill. It is exciting. Brad Haley hanging on. And I mean hanging on because DeVries has caught him, and a little bit of HPD traffic coming through never hurts. And Jason DeVries sits in 2nd right now. Guys, amazingly enough, they've actually dropped Sofretic just a little bit. He sits back in 3rd and is starting to become a bit irrelevant to the battle up front, which is a shame because he needs to get busy here. And we've only got, just under 20 minutes left. So back to 4th, it's Scott. We got Scott McGarvey. They're in 4th. And Giuliano Romagnolo just took that spot from Paul Lindsay 2 laps ago to get back into 5th. So Romagnolo actually starting to advance through the field. Unfortunately, the rest of the guys in front of him are just under 15 seconds. So Romagnolo needs a lot of help right now if he's got any chance of finding the podium today.
Here's something interesting. DeVries' pit stop was 3 seconds faster than anybody else in his class. That would usually make me worry, other than he's in a unique make of car all to himself. So maybe the fuel mileage that he's getting up. What is he in? Is he in a Ferrari? What's DeVries racing?
He's in a Ferrari.
Yes, he's in a Ferrari. Yep.
A few other of the GTDs are out there in a Ferrari, so he's not alone. Took a lot of curb there, did Bradley Haley, as we watch this fight for the lead. Haley's been feeling under pressure, actually, as he went defensive into Rettifilio.
Christopher Sherburne and Robert Schlenk also in Ferraris. They are well down the order, though, so it's hard to get a read on what they're up to.
Let's stay on this battle. Again, this is for the lead in the slowest class of the field. Very important stuff. Well, science tells us that behind the tail of a comet, there's a lot of ice crystals, so feels appropriate that Deep Freeze right now riding in the tire tracks of Bradley Haley. And I'm sure he'd like to reverse that as they come out of Ascari. Just 17 minutes left to go. He's got time to do it, and clearly he's got the pace yet again.
Racing and science all in one broadcast.
I paid attention at school.
Wow, Haley has been perfect through Parabolica today. That's really seems where he has held on control of this field is his trip through there. He's got that line figured out. It was a little bit different there for DeVries, and it cost him some time. Now, DeVries, to his credit, he's gotten here by breaking deep into these chicanes. He does it again, gets right up under the wing. Able to get the power down quick, and boy, that's where Sofretic is suffering back there, Joe. He just can't get the power down coming out of these chicanes.
And I believe this is each different make of car, I believe. Is Sofretic in the Audi? No, he is not. He's in the Merc.
He's in a Merc, yeah.
So 2 Mercs versus a Ferrari. Last time, he took way too much curb, and he took a little bit too much curb again, did Bradley Haley. He knows it. He goes to the inside to try and hold off the car of Jason DeVries through the first Lesmo. Manages to successfully fend him off. But boy, I bet Deep Freeze is licking his chops now. He knows that he's starting to get some mistakes out of Bradley Haley. it could only be a matter of time until he finds one that allows him to try and slip by.
He's got hope now for sure.
But will this battle bring the car of Svredek back into things too? Even though he's fallen back a bit, all it takes is a few tenths lost for them to suddenly make it a 3-car fight.
Is it fitting that De Vries is in the factory car here in Maranello?
Well, I'm sure that's made the virtual fans cheer even louder. That shell liveried Ferrari trying to get itself up to the front. Not as many in the GTD class, but boy, there's a lot of Ferraris up towards the front of the GTLMs, I noticed. Because I believe the only one not a Ferrari in the top 5 is Stephen McGarvey.
Yeah, McGarvey races second in his Ford. Gerard now has moved into 5th in a Ford as well, with Williams having that Ferrari trouble.
We're staying on this battle. Closest one we've got at the top contenders. GTLM really is a blowout right now, although we do have to keep half an eye on Tinsley and Ellis, as Ellis has kept him honest to about 1.2 seconds between them. There we see our 2 prototype leaders actually dealing with a lot of traffic here. Oh, and Ellis getting the worst of it, making a little bit of touch there on the back of that Ferrari.
Dale Green.
And that is what Green really does not want, because he's in a fight for the AM Championship as Ellis has to take it 3 wide. Is that a fight for position there?
That's Rosenbaum and Booth up ahead of him.
Yes.
There. Yeah.
Best buddies side by side down in Della Roja. They're going to try and hold on to it. This loses them a ton of time. Booth holds it onto it around the outside. Fantastic move. Brave stuff from the Canadian.
Sean, we could have done a whole hour just watching Booth and Rosenbaum.
Yeah, we could have. You're right about that, Sue.
And having to deal with those 2 battling, and the Ferrari that held him up in the first chicane put Ellis back a whole 2 more seconds. It's now 3 between Tinsley and Ellis.
Here we go, front straight. Guys, De Vries may take it here. He's got to run. Here comes Svredek up behind.
The Ferrari now peeks to the inside. Oh, a late defensive move from Bradley. He tries to close the door after the horse has already bolted. Oh, and he outbrakes himself. He's going to definitely have to slow down for that cut course.
Wow.
Hands it to De Vries on a silver platter.
Not only De Vries, but Svredek as well.
And he's sent tumbling backwards as it's now
Man.
up to 2 seconds between himself and Svredek.
Ooh, Svredek has got the reins in the teeth now there, Bill, and he is moving, baby. He's got some hope here. Although catching De Vries is not going to be any easy task. Something happened to De Vries after that pit stop. I'm not sure what it was, but he is locked in.
Well, all of a sudden, think about it. All of a sudden, back there, Svredek is cursing De Vries because he's another car between him and the guy he's trying to chase. But in the long run, it's De Vries that makes the move on Haley, makes the mistake, gives Svredek the position, and now Svredek's ahead of Haley. Worked out perfect for him.
Well, while De Vries was putting Haley on ice, Andra managed to work another move on his comeback run and gets himself into 7th. This was on Lyle Duprat.
And it won't be long. He's just about a second behind Sock Rider here as we look at the replay.
Ducks to the inside, down into the first Lesmo. And Duprat doesn't fight. Duprat's more worried about getting consistent results as he is our AM Championship leader in the prototypes. As we come back live and see that Andre is already on the back of Sock Rider to try to take 6. But we should point out that Duprat has almost 100 points on the next card down. So he could actually, maybe within this race or the next, clinch that title in the AM Championship. I believe it might have to wait until next race as they get 35-point max. Is that it?
I think that's how that works, yep.
With 4 rounds to go. I know not to do math on air. We'll save that for later.
But of course, the points earned farther down the list for those guys. 35 for a win. There's the pass you see being made.
Yep, Andra using the momentum out of Ascari, trying to go the long way around to David Sockrider. Is Sockrider going to fight back, breaking into Parabolica? He tries, but just does not have the guts that Ty Andra does, and he is now up into 6th.
Again, that's a really important pass. Remember, Andra is your points leader, and even though he's back there in what's he racing now in 6th position, those are all still points he's picking up.
Down to the final 10 minutes of this race. Our closest fight has whittled down to the GTD leaders. Savretic still within half a second of De Vries. Does he settle for second place, knowing that he's going to continue to gain points on Haley, or does he go all out and try to take the win to maximize his points? He had to sit behind De Vries last round 2 weeks ago over in England and Snetterton. The first time we had gone there. So Savretic for the first time running into Deep Freeze, and for the first time racing in this series at that track.
Boy, but look what happened, Sean. After Savretic got around, after Haley had his problems, this is out of the mix altogether. 2.5 seconds back.
Yeah, he's not been able to recover from that soup, and now he's got HPD traffic coming through, which he has to kind of give some courtesy to, and that, of course, when you have to do that, you're slowing down, so, or you're offline and you're scuffing off speed. So, yeah, things not working out for Brad back there, and that is something to keep an eye on. But man, the battle up front, it's so intense. It's the Ferrari against the Merc.
As we stay on this battle and watch this battle, Sean, if you're Haley, knowing that your lead has been cut down, your main rival now is ahead of you, and the rounds are running out, is this time to panic? Is this time to do something drastic? Or should he stay calm? Because he still does have 26 points currently.
He stays calm. He stays calm because there's still a podium in sight for you here, just under 9 minutes away. The podium is still a great finish and still great points, so I don't think there's any real reason to panic. Avoid another mistake. That's what he really needs to do.
And Haley does still have 16 points in his pocket compared to Savretic, who has none. So he at least knows that he'll continue to score points as long as he keeps showing up.
In the prototypes, things have settled down. Tinsley's starting to get control of that left Magic Alex Alice behind.
Tinsley been on a charge, as we listed. It took him a while to get his first win this season, and an amazingly long time considering his past championships and how dominant he's been. But he's trying to bring himself back into things. Had a bit of bad luck in the final round of the Asian League over at Phillip Island, as his car was sent off track, and he had to try and climb his way forward from being a lap down from the leaders because of that automatic tow that he suffered. Going down to the GTLM class, well, that's been a very different story. Jeffrey Ooms, who we saw come in last season, showed himself to be a very strong driver. Well, he has just solidified that in everybody's minds, taking almost every win this season. I think, is it only 2 races that he has not won, Bill?
Yeah, I think that is the number. It has been impressive.
And the champion that he has been disposing of has been running in second for most of this season, as he is today, Stephen McGarvey.
Give McGarvey credit for keeping Ohms honest. He's there. It just seconds aren't going to get you there if the guy you're chasing keeps winning. Although McGarvey has 2 wins in a row. McGarvey's on a win streak, so things have been going his way of late.
I think that streak is going to end today unless Ooms has a serious problem. And in fact, Ooms, remember, he ran into some issues that were both of his own making in the last 2 rounds. It was Darling. I was thinking that it had problems in Phillip Island. So Ooms last round had problems of his own making with a pit speeding penalty. Of course,
Here comes
Savretic,
guys, down the front straight into the first chicane. He got a good run out of Parabolica, brought it real close. He's going to run out of straightaway, not close enough. My bad.
De Vries guards the door anyway.
Just in the sake of being precise, Ooms has 6 wins this season, so there have been 5 times when people haven't got in there.
Ah, there we go.
Oh, only 5.
Yeah, I know. Right.
Still impressive stuff.
Sounds like a regular old David Pearson there, Soup.
Well, we can't forbid, because I think one of those wins, I guess not. I was thinking that was for Rosenbaum, but maybe that's not.
Well, Rosenbaum was in GTD.
Yeah, GTD. Yeah, that's what I was. Sorry. I just love that Rosenbaum win. I just have to get it into every race if possible.
We were riding on board with Savretic there, continuing to do what he can on Jason DeVries. And every corner, try as he might, just can't get within striking distance. Again, if you're just joining us here on the Global Sim Racing channel, we are at Monza for round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. We're watching the fight for the lead in the GTDs as Daniel Gralty slices through in the faster prototype class. Oh, and Bradley Haley, what happened to him now? This is not the Haley we saw in the first half of the season.
The sausage curb got him there in Ascari.
He's lucky it didn't chuck him right into the wall. But that car, and was it Haley last season or the season before who was leading and clattered over a curb and damaged the undertray and lost speed? I want to say it was Haley that we saw that happen to, because he was fighting with Lauro Costa. And he had...
Lauro Costa.
Yeah, he finally had the measure of Costa. I think that's what the race was. He had the win in the bag, and the damage cost him time, and Lauro Costa, excuse me, unfortunately was able to just take first with ease.
How about a tip of the hat to DeVries? We haven't seen him for, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 seasons. He shows up.
Kedrowski. I think that's who we saw at the very start of the race as well, in that exact same position.
Yep, a little deja vu.
This time, though, it's because he took a little bit too much to the first curb. Watching the replay with that Ford GT. Going to get it right this time. Mean Beaver racing car, unfortunately. Or actually, more fortunately, kept it out of the barrier, I should say, so he didn't really hurt himself too badly. I'm sure his team manager is going to yell at him saying it's because you didn't have the livery on the car.
It's a great name for a team. Beavers notoriously with a very bad disposition, guys.
Oh, and battle on screen for GTLM podium position. Darling and Smith now coming up towards the Ascari chicane. Darling having to give up the spot.
We'll have to find out what happened to Darling. He shouldn't be that far back. He was not that far behind McGarvey a second ago.
He hopped the sausage curb in Ascari. And I mean, he hopped it good. The car was all 4 wheels off the ground.
Ooh. Well, he's looking very slow, so
this is worth the replay, actually. We got it.
That's through Della Rogia. So I think we need to go... oh, yeah, we do need a backup, because right now he's already got Billy Smith on him. And I think we're still a little bit too far ahead of it here, Ascari. Here we go. Now I believe we'll have it. This is coming down to that last chicane. We're not missing any action out on track right now, so don't worry.
He's going to do an endo, Joe. You know what an endo is?
I guess not familiar, because I think of it something else.
It's an old BMX turn. Watch this here.
Oh!
Ooh.
Oh!
Oh, and he hits the wall for good measure.
That was worth the wait.
We're going to watch it one more time on board.
An endo usually puts you over the handlebars, Joe.
See, yeah, I was going to say, I think of end over end. Meanwhile, battle for the lead as we come back live. Tinsey and Ellis has gotten him. Was that into the first corner? No, Tinsey let him by. Tinsey lifted.
Fuel saving, maybe.
but he's too far back right now. If he's trying to get in the slipstream, this is not going to help him. Oh, as we got 2 cars off through Della Rosa, that's Dale Green and Mark Kudrowski. Oh, wow. Okay, wow. Kudrowski may need a little bit of practice in the Della Rosa chicane.
Kevin O'Keefe there to witness it all as he drives through that.
Fortunately, we're not going to get the replay as we continue to watch this battle for the lead, because we are at the end of the race here. We might get, I think it's going to be the white flag this time by. And Cy Andra has to come in for fuel, I think?
Uh-oh.
Oh, my goodness.
My gut tells me that Tinsey either had a burp or had to lift down the straight.
You know what? I think Tinsey maybe thought he's not going to make it and thought maybe if I lift, I can make it 1 lap shorter.
Okay, that would be it.
Oh, it's very, very close. Watching the timing and scoring here to see if we're going to get the checkered. Oh, and he has to come in. Ellis has to pit. 1 lap to go. White flag will come out now, and Tinsey stays out. Tinsey is going to stay out on track. Wow.
He wasn't sure if he was going to get the checkered flag. Oh my gosh.
This is the most bizarre ending we've ever seen, and that's saying something in Autobahn.
Tinsey
straight lines it. Tinsey doesn't have enough fuel either. He straight lines the chicane to try and save on it.
That's not going to work.
Shades of Monaco in 1982. Who wants to win this race? Who's got the fuel to get to the end? Tinsey is way ahead, but he is going incredibly slow. Tinsey thought that if he slowed, he's gonna... And Ulmer comes in for fuel. I'm pretty certain that Tinsey thought if he slowed up, he's going to be able to finish this race on that previous lap. But it didn't work out that way.
Ellis was able to come in, make the stop, get out in front of Gralty. So I think Ellis is going to win this thing even with the pit stop.
14 seconds between them. Ellis is a-coming. Gralty is behind him. Can Tinsey get to the end? He is cruising along. Down to 13 seconds now. Tinsey might actually do this. He comes up to Parabolica. 12 seconds between them. 11 seconds. We're riding on board. Now we jump over to Alex Ellis. Tinsey now comes around the Parabolica. 9 seconds. I think he's going to make it. He comes to the line. It was questionable, but Tinsey finally just cruises across to take the win. Incredible. Oh, our leader changing the GTDs. DeVries goes off.
Oh, and
he disappears.
Disqualified.
Jason DeVries loses it on the final lap, and Dennis Servretic is going to gain maximum points on his main competitor.
I'm sorry, I thought I saw him blink out there.
I was looking for Ooms to try and see who was going to finish first. Next, Servretic is going to be the one. He'll take the win in the GTD class. Surprises in both of our 2 classes except for GTLM. Ooms crosses the line just behind him to win dominantly once again in GTLM.
Soup, you want to get on a red eye to Vegas, buddy?
Holy smokes.
Oh, no, DeVries was not DQ'd. He managed to finish.
Ahead of Haley, I believe.
Yeah.
This is a replay of our leader. He was well clear of him. Was not under threat. Just outbraked himself.
Just made a mistake, man. The grass got him
too.
Yep, he got that right rear off into the grass, Joe.
And there you did see him disappear on there, but he came back.
We're gonna watch from Servretic's view.
Went through a wormhole there, Soup.
Oof. Wow, just went into the perfect spot for Servretic to slide by. Now, we're going to look at Jason Girard. What happened to Girard here? This is for fourth, and this is Billy Smith, I believe, that he's battling with. This is for position. Down into De La Rogia, side by side, banging doors. Oh! Watch that from this almost looked like netcode from that first angle, Bill.
Yeah, it was. Gerard has been back there the whole time. Billy Smith falls into his clutches. They go too wide. Let's see if there's... Well, from that angle... Well, I don't know. It's close enough where I'm not going to... That's just part of racing.
Yeah, well, we have to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back. Yes, I know, really. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Monza. We just watched round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And you talk about a chaotic finish. That was chaotic even by Autobahn standards. Up at the front, taking P1 as his car sputtered to the line, was Robert Tinsey, only 6 seconds ahead of Alex Ellis, who had to make a splash and dash at the end of the race to get it done. Daniel Gralti gets another podium, I believe number 7 for Daniel, which will continue to help him in this championship hunt. Lionel Duprat, one of the best finishes we've seen from him all year, finishes in 4th, with Cy Andra getting a 5th today. Not what our championship leader wanted. he also had to take a late stop as well as suffer an extra pit stop from damage. So 3 for him today. Elliot Nemi gets a well-earned 6 with John Ulmer starting on the pole and unfortunately coming down to 7th. He as well couldn't make it to the end on fuel. David Sockrider finished 8th behind him with Mike Young coming home 9th. 10th goes to Chris Pence and Mark Wilson finishes in 11th. Bill?
A little less chaotic down in the GTL Elms. Jeffrey Ooms goes wire to wire. Steve McGarvey right behind him. There were some guys running up there, David Williams and Paul Darling. They're going to be farther down the list because Billy Smith's going to get that final podium position as he was in a tight battle with Jason Girard at the very end. Smith getting the best of it. Girard's going to finish fourth. Ryan Huff behind that. Then we get to the guys I talked about. Williams and Darling are next. Leif Peterson, who just made it on to the top 5 in the points. He's going to be well down the list, 19th overall. And Dave Hill behind them. Then we go over to the GTDs and Sean Ambrose.
Yes, sir. The GTDs. What a finish, guys. Dennis Zavretek is going to take that win. Jason DeVries is going to have to settle for second this week. And Bradley Haley, it just wasn't his race today, was it, guys? Third place for him. Scott McGarvey, fourth. Giuliano Romagnolo will finish fifth. Paul Lindsay, sixth. Let's see here. Ross Booth, who had a heck of a battle with Sheldon Rosenbaum for most of the race. He'll finish 7th. 8th is actually going to be Kevin Santana, who passes Rosenbaum late to finish 9th. Kevin O'Keefe, why me? Well, 10th today. I'll tell you what, not a bad finish for him. Tim McLeish, 11th. Matt Owens, 12th. Christopher Sherburne, 13th in class. 14th goes to Robert Sklenka. Dale Green finishes back there in 22nd overall. Let's see, 10th in his class. And Mark Kudrowski, 11th. Patrick Fleming, 12th. And Dino Topic is going to finish this race out. Well, it just didn't start well for him, guys. And he had questioned whether or not he should be here. Dino, you should be here every week. But we're sorry things didn't work out for you, buddy.
Well, we have a driver who is probably pretty happy. Robert Tinsey, our overall winner, going to join us in the booth. And Robert, that sure was tight on fuel. When you lifted on the lap prior and you saw Ellis go by, did you know that he had to stop for one more time? Robert, you got a copy? Looks like Robert actually is off celebrating for a bit, so we'll give him a second to finish with his champagne before he comes and joins us. In the meantime, I believe our winner in the GTLMs, Jeffrey Ooms, is waiting in the wings. I believe Bill is going to be talking to Jeff again.
Jeffrey Ooms, congratulations. This is your 7th win of the season. Never easy, but it looked comfortable.
Yeah, I didn't really see what happened to McGarvey at the start there. He might have got a slow down or something like that, and then figured just let the kind of field pass by him there. But out front, yeah, it was kind of clear sailing for the most part, I have to say. I did get a couple slowdowns, just trying to push the limits on a few corners there, but I had kind of the gap to make up for my mistakes. And then, right at the end, came up on a good battle in the GT3, so I figured I'd just let those guys battle and not pass them and break them up, and it ended up being a good finish.
Boy, down into that first chicane, a lot of times, when you get 3 different classes involved, it could be a parking lot. Were you ever involved in one of those where that's nose to tail through there?
Yeah, a few times. But for the most part, if you kind of just let off maybe 100 meters early, let the HPDs go by, and then most of the time the GT3s are pretty cordial with you too, and they'll kind of let you go because everybody knows that it is a pretty big danger zone down there. So, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, no contact again, and which is always nice, and pretty sizable win, which is good.
All right. Well, you had a peaceful one compared to the other classes. You're going to be happy with the way yours came out. Congratulations with your 7th win of the season. We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
Jeffrey Ooms, your winner here today in GTLMs. Joe?
It sounds like Robert Tinsey's gotten mic'd up now and cleaned the champagne off of himself. So let's talk to Robert about that finish. I'll repeat the question that I had before. Robert, did you know that Alex had to make one more stop when you saw him go by on the penultimate lap?
No, I literally had no idea. I was like, well, I guess that's it. We'll have to see what happens because on the back straight, I realized, okay, I'm not going to have enough, and I think I'm going to trigger one more lap. So let me slow down a little bit. So he had like a 3-second gap, And so I let him get within like a second and a half, trying not to give up the lead, but at the same time, not trying to trigger one more lap. So yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Now, on your final lap, you did cut through the first chicane. Do you expect any backlash about that, or do you think drivers will consider that fair game, cutting the course to make the fuel stretch?
I think I still had enough. It was just more about not wanting to lose my momentum. It's not like I cut across the whole corner of a track in the sense of like going off-roading and going up in the grass and all that kind of stuff, but just kind of glided through there a little bit, made sure no one was in the way. I wasn't going to run anybody over doing it. So yeah, I just went through the cones at the end, at the first turn there, so I didn't have to go all the way back down to first and try to build up my speed a little bit again. So in the end, I lost more time doing it that way, but I was just trying to keep the momentum and not lose as much fuel.
So you've now won 4 out of the last 5 races. You're on a tear. You're gaining speed on Andra in the points championship. Do you think you can catch him before all is said and done?
I think it's possible. I'm still trying to appeal a decision to see if I can get a couple points back. But yeah, it should be really, really fun till the end.
All right. Well, Le Mans up next, another very thirsty track with a lot of straightaways. Do you anticipate more fuel shenanigans there?
Oh, definitely. Well, the last 2 races we had there, last 2 seasons, I think I ran out the same way on the last lap again, so I had to pit each time. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race again.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, and congratulations on the win.
Thanks a lot, guys.
That was our winner overall, Robert Tinsey. Next, I believe, second place in GTD, ready to talk to Sean, Jason DeVries.
Jason, it's a shame it comes down to the last lap, but tell us real quick what happened there, man.
Hey, I want to steal the cheese from John. He can't have the monopoly on that these days. I stole the recipe. We took the marinara sauce, threw that out. I hate tomatoes. We put oil and vinegar on that thing, and we launched the cheese off of it. We're doing dairy-free pizza today.
Jason, what a race. First of all, the fact that you guys were able to get by Bradley Haley there after the pit stop, and then the chase that you had to deal with from Savretic. I mean, you seem to have him on speed there a little bit, but boy, he was keeping it very interesting, keeping the pressure on. Is that what finally got to you in the end? Was it the pressure?
No. I was trying to save fuel. I was pretty much at borderline. In fact, I sputtered to the line, so I was trying to save fuel that whole last lap and still manage the gap. And I just coasted it in there and had a different braking point, and I was just a little too far right on the track. So when I hit the brakes, when you lift coast, when you brake a little bit harder than normal. And I hit the brakes, it just locked the right rear and sent me through the chicane. And I'm sitting there laughing my butt off, trying to see straight, because I'm almost crying from laughing so hard I can't even see the track ahead of me, and just tried to not wreck everyone in the process. But that was top 3, the most funniest moments I've ever had behind the wheel, if not the funniest.
Well, there was a lot of excitement in this finish today, and you were one of the reasons why. In fact, when you had the trouble, you had blinked away for just a moment. We had all thought that you had actually disqualified from the event. So you went through a bit of a wormhole there and then come back out on the other side. But a very fun race. Congratulations on sitting on the podium this evening.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun. Glad to be back.
Well, guys, that was Jason DeVries, and I think, Joe, you're going to talk to Alex Ellis real quick about his excitement out here today.
Yes, second place in the prototypes, but who knew where it was going to be down till the checkered flag ran. Alex, we got down to that last lap, and you saw that Tinsey lifted and let you go. Did you think it was going to be the last lap? Did you think you have the win in the bag?
Well, I knew basically coming to the line, I was hoping to see the white flag. I had 0.7 of a lap fuel reserve. So basically, as soon as I saw that white flag, I knew I would either have to go to fuel map 1 or just go for it and take the splash and dash. If I knew we could cut turn 1, though, I definitely wouldn't have splash and dash, because I think I had enough to catch it. Because obviously, accelerating from an almost stop in turn 1 takes a ton of fuel.
Yes, touching on that incident, what are your feelings on that then? Do you disagree with Tinsey's assessment of his move?
Yeah, I think that's a 100% disqualification. Simply, if I knew we could cut the track, I would have made it on fuel too. But it's just straight up breaking the rules. So I don't know how it can be taken as a win in any way. And if it is, I don't know how he can feel good about it.
Obviously, a bit of disagreement brewing there at the top of the prototypes. Alex, next round, we're going to a place that'll also suck up a lot of fuel. With Le Mans being as prestigious as Monza, are you eager to try and redeem yourself there and maybe take a win?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll do it clean too.
All right. Well, commiserations on the second today, and we hope to see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks. Take care, guys.
All right. Well, we have wrapped up here today, unfortunately, as exciting, as interesting as things have become. We've seen some real hard-nosed rivalries in the past here in Autobahn, and I think a new one is starting to bubble under the surface.
You think?
Yeah, so we'll keep tabs on that. The forums will certainly be interesting, I'm sure. But before we go, of course, we want to thank a few people. A big thank you to the Autobahn Motorcar Group for sponsoring this series for every single season and coming back once again. And thanks to John Ulmer and his entire group of folks behind the scenes who help organize this thing and make it come to air. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen, with a special thank you to Aptioneer.in and their team for developing ATVO. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today as well, Bill, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We've had a new upgrade recently with our website, so if you haven't gone there in a while, it's worth checking out. It's shiny and fancy now, as well as having a nice streamlined form to get a hold of us if you want to contact us. You can check out our social media as well. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel and on Instagram at GSRC_Ram. The next race, as I mentioned, we're going to France now. That'll be at Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe. That'll be Monday, March 19th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have other upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.